I'm just going to be staring at them the whole time.
The finger ones?
Yeah, please.
Okay, so this one, I got this one first. Actually, no, I got these two at the same time.
Okay.
So I used to be married. So I used to wear like a wedding ring on this finger. And
oh, fuck.
So I kind of got that. Not as
That's gangster.
But it's...
She's got an X, if you can't see.
Got an X.
She's got an X on that.
But, so my ex and I are like really close still. So it wasn't like, I didn't get it as like a,
Fuck
like I
you.
hate you thing. It was more of like an acknowledgement of like, that was a thing and it's no longer a thing, but it still like holds a place in my life and its significance. And I want to like kind of pay tribute to that.
What?
And then I got this one at the same time. This is like a symbol that supposedly means transcend.
Is that what Google said?
Yeah. And so I was like, it looks kind of cool. Like, let's go with it. And then, I got these ones later. This guy named Kurt Montgomery, he's like a pretty well-known tattoo artist in Toronto. He did those. So he has one that looks like this. So he was like, hey, it would be cool if you matched me. And I was like, sure, why not? And then I got this at the same day as that one. So they're just like two straight lines.
What?
That really have no significance.
What?
So he was like, I want to do this cool like straight line tattoo on your arm. And I was like, I didn't know that doing straight line is actually really hard.
That's a tattoo artist.
Yeah. And so he was like, that's why it's kind of cool, because it's like deceivingly simple. But like, if you know, then you know that it's actually really difficult. And I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. I like the meaning behind that. So he did that one. And then he was like, let's put another mini one on the other finger.
Hilarious.
So I was like, sure. I'm very like with tattoos, I'm like very spontaneous. I never plan them. I just get them like on the fly.
Damn, son.
So all of these are like on the fly. But I want more.
Obviously.
Like I want to like get my whole hands done, but
You're one of those.
I feel like it would be painful though, so
Crazy motherfuckers.
what
Why
can I
not?
say? Why
Oh,
not? Yeah.
well, let's keep that in there for sure. That's
Sweet.
hilarious. Josephine, welcome.
Yes.
Welcome back to Vancouver.
Thanks so much. I'm really happy to be back.
How do you find it out here? What keeps bringing you back to the West Coast?
What keeps bringing me back? Well, Vancouver is like, it's kind of like my second, third home because of the people that are here.
Aw.
Yeah, so
well, thanks. We just met.
Yes, you are part of that now too. My best friend Karina lives here, so I've been friends with her for like 15 years.
Shout out Karina.
Yeah, she's amazing.
The best.
We met in Calgary. We met working at Aritzia, actually.
Cute.
Yes, rite of passage for like all girls like in Western Canada. But we met and
Brie, can you fact check that real quick? I'm just kidding. I'm my bad. Sorry.
we met and we were friends. We only lived in the same city for like 2 years because she was there for school and then she moved back to Vancouver. So I started coming to Vancouver in like 2006-ish, like to visit her.
Cool.
And and then I just met a whole bunch of other like music industry people out here. That was kind of like in the early social media days, like in the MySpace days.
06.
This is like 06, 07.
Yeah.
And it was really kind of like the first time that you could sort of see what music scenes were like in other
Without
cities.
being there?
Yeah. So prior to that, I think that things were like more siloed. But then when MySpace came around, I was like learning about all these DJs here, like Flip Out and like the freshest DJs and all these guys.
On the podcast. Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
Literally just 2 weeks ago.
Crazy.
Or something like that.
Yeah, he's got like an amazing career, but
He's got an aura about.
Yeah.
That man is trippy. That man is trippy. He walked in here and I was like, fuck, this man is a legend. And he just like came on and he was like, yo, like, what's good? And it was just like super chill. And I was like, you're the fucking man. Like, I don't know. Anyways, yeah. A lot of cool. There's music roots here.
Yeah. And so I started learning about all of that and getting connected to all these people. And then, I don't know, I just like always had like an affinity for Vancouver and always wanted to come here. And recently, like in the last, I would say like 4 years that my like music and DJ career has been picking up a bit, I have more reason to come here. So
hell yeah.
Yeah.
That's super amazing. Okay, so Josephine Cruz.
Yes.
That
me.
is a Spanish name in my head for some reason.
Yeah.
Cruz, right?
It is a Spanish name.
But you're not Spanish at all.
I'm not.
You are born in the UK, lived in Hong Kong, and now you're in Toronto.
Yeah. How did Cruz come about?
How did Cruz come about?
Okay, so we're talking a lot about my ex, but like I was married before. And
Shit.
Yeah, but that's where Cruz comes from. So my maiden name is
obviously.
Mok, my last name.
Okay.
So, which is like a Chinese name.
Yeah.
So yeah, my family is from like Hong Kong and like the Guangzhou region of China, which is like southern China. So my birth name is Josephine Mok, and then I got married in 2010 to Rick Cruz, became Josephine Cruz, and
Just kept it.
kept it. Yeah. And we're not married anymore, but all of it originally started as more of like a practical like thing, because all of my like work, like I've been like published as a writer under that name. And so I was just like, I'll just continue to use this name professionally. But I feel like I'm like attached to the name as well, because during the time I've been Josephine Cruz has been when I feel like I've like really come into like my own and become the person I feel like I'm supposed to be.
That's the identity you've attached yourself to.
Yeah. And so it would feel very unnatural to now go back and be like, I'm actually Josephine Mok again, because I just don't have like an attachment to that name.
Interesting. So
Yeah.
just like, at least from my perspective, like I would never, if I was a woman, I hate the whole thing of like women taking the man's last name. Like I think that's kind of bullshit. And just like weird traditions that have just carried on for forever.
Yeah.
Essentially, do you not like just feel like, I know you don't have an attachment to that name, but like have because of your heritage at all, or you're just like,
I mean, like, yeah, I never really thought of it that way. Also, like the Mok name comes from like my dad's side of the family,
Okay.
and I'm not super close
so you're
with
like,
my
fuck
dad.
it, didn't like him anyways.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, if you're gonna put it that way. No, like, yeah, I just like, I don't feel like I said, I just feel like I have more of a connection to Cruz. But I hear what you're saying. Like, honestly, when I got married in 2010, I feel like so much has changed even in society, like since then. I don't know if now, if I got, let's say I got married again, I don't know if I would like
Change your
take
name?
the name. Yeah.
So if I was the next gentleman that ends up marrying you and you had the last name of your ex-husband, I would be like,
It's gotta go.
I don't know about that one. Like, take your own damn name.
Yeah. I mean, it's a pretty like, having an ex-husband is a pretty like, it's definitely a certain thing to like kind of manage.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And my ex and I, like I said, we're really good friends too. So we weren't always good friends. We've definitely like worked to get our friendship back. But, you know, even like my current partner, he's like very understanding about like my friendship that I have with my ex, which I don't know if like a lot of people would necessarily be cool with that. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I can relate. I have really good relationships with my exes, no ex-wives though. And I think that's a really good part of the journey. I don't know. My mom and dad are not together, but my mom always kind of instilled me with this like feeling of like if you're gonna love someone, always love them in a way. Like, don't do them the disjustice of taking that away. Like, you can still care for someone even if you don't love them. Like, you can learn a person and really get into them and understand who they are. And if you love that person once, maybe the relationship didn't work out or you're not fit for each other, whatever. Like, you don't have like that doesn't necessarily go away in a sense. And it's not like I want to be with you or that, but it's just a certain level of like respect.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think that that's really the case with my, you know, marriage. Like, we got married when we were really young.
How old are you now? I'm sorry.
So I'm turning 34 this year.
Oh my gosh.
I'm 33. So I got married at 23.
You look 23.
Thanks.
Of course. Asian, no raisin. You know how it is.
Yeah, so we got married young, and like, you know, we'd been together already for like 5 years before we got married. And when you're like 23, 24, like, you think you know everything, and like,
Of course.
you know, you feel like you've changed so much since you're 18. So of course you're like the person you're going to be. And so I think that like, it's not like something happened in our marriage. Like, it didn't like fall apart dramatically. There was no like cheating. It was just like, we honestly just like were becoming different people who wanted different things. And when we split when I was like, whatever, 28 or 29, I was like, again, a much different person than I was at 23, 24.
You grew in different directions.
Yeah. And so I think that's almost harder in a way. Like, I remember when we were going through our breakup, it was difficult because I almost wished that something like catastrophic had happened
Oh my
so that it would
gosh.
be easier to kind of like, it would just be easier to be like, okay, well, this
happened, so this is why we're breaking up.
Yeah, but it's a lot harder to be like, oh, I still like love this person, and we still have like this like, you know, history, and now we're just kind of like moving apart. It's a lot harder to like reconcile. But
yeah,
I like look back though, and like I truly think that like everything happened exactly as it is, and like, you know, maybe I misjudged like the role that he was supposed to play in my life. Like, he wasn't supposed to be my like forever romantic partner, but he is like truly my like a forever friend and someone who like, you know, that list of people that you have of people you could like call if you were ever like in a bind, like he's definitely like on that list. So I think that, yeah, it's still a forever thing, just a different forever thing.
Different forever thing.
Yeah.
You can still forever play a role in my life, but it just doesn't have to be that role.
Yeah, totally.
That's a really cool
and
thing.
It's taken us now like, you know, 5 years to get to that point. It's been 5 years since we broke up. But now I just feel like, yeah, we're in like a really good place with our friendship, and we've like made our peace with like what happened between us. And I would not like, I can say without a doubt that I wouldn't be like who I am or doing what I'm doing if it wasn't for him, because he's the one who first exposed me to like DJing at a different level.
Oh, I see.
So yeah.
Crazy. Damn.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Welcome to the relationship talk with Josephine and Joss.
I know that like went there like right away.
Super
on the
left.
first question, but
Yeah, let's get past it. I like it. No, that's hilarious.
yeah, it's definitely a huge part of like my story though. So
and a huge part of who you are. Like, there's no shame in that at all. It's these people are I don't want to say building blocks, because that maybe implies something wrong, but they're just pieces to the puzzle of our life, and shouldn't be necessarily degraded or scratched out. But the last name thing is super crazy.
Yeah.
Anyways.
I do also like though being a little bit like racially ambiguous.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of like cool in that way.
Dude,
too.
I wish I was racially ambiguous. I'm straight white, and I just wish I had a little bit of Mexican,
Yeah.
you know, maybe a little bit of Egyptian, a little bit of Chinese,
That'd
a little bit
be
of
cool.
anything, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in another like 100 years, everyone's gonna be like
Some
that.
mix of something, right?
Yeah, we're all just gonna be gray, and it's gonna be great.
Gray. Gray. Yeah. Well, yeah, something like that. That's actually hilarious. So you're 34, had a past life. You know who was also 34 and had a past life?
Tell me.
Floetic.
Where is he?
Where is Floetic? It's all good. So Floetic's he's a staple around here. He's been on the podcast twice. But he's another guy that has, I don't know if he was married before. Maybe, I don't know. But he used to be a mainstay in the corporate world in marketing. Sound familiar?
And he like lived in Calgary for a bit.
Yes.
Which is like so weird. I'm
Super
like,
crazy. And
the
now,
same time I lived there. I'm like,
same
why did I
time?
not know you?
Damn. And then you guys just both took this turn.
Yeah.
And now are fairly damn successful DJs from a corporate branding marketing side.
Yeah.
Like
It's really
9 to
weird.
5 office life.
Yeah, cubicle life.
Damn, son.
Yeah.
Damn,
yeah, it's
son.
crazy. It's honestly crazy to like look back and think that like I try to think back to who I was, you know, 5 years ago, and I'm like, it feels like another person.
Another life,
Yeah,
right?
it feels like
Oh my
looking
God.
at not even myself. It's really weird. But I do think that like it's all made sense, you know, like everything that I've done in the past did like somehow ladder up to like bringing me here.
Yeah, I get what you're saying there. Like it's a building block. These experiences are building blocks for sure. But it's like, if you take the person you are now, the person you were when you took that job, which you probably were ecstatic about the job at the time.
Yeah,
I don't know.
100%.
But, that was still your mind.
Yeah,
Like that was still you.
for sure.
Like physically that was you, but it's just like, it's crazy to see our perspectives, our personalities, our methodologies in life just literally do a 180 and be like, oh, how did you do that? And it ties back into a bigger conversation of like the everyone with the Me Too thing. Right now it's like these guys are getting I don't really want to take the podcast here, but I'll take it anyways. But it's just like you have guys that are things are being brought up from the 80s, from the 90s. And I was just thinking about that. Like that's literally a different person.
Yeah.
Like you're like, who were you in 2005 and who were you in 2019?
Yeah.
Those are literally different people.
It's different person, and it's different like context, different like, you know, like society, different like expectations, different like levels of like acceptance about what was like quote unquote normal. Like
Right.
it is like totally different. And like I'm someone who I think I was like very much a product of like my environment back then, you know, like I grew up in Calgary. It was like, it's a very conservative place, and
it's an oil town. Like,
yeah. And it's like a corporate culture, you know, like it's like everyone kind of follows the same path.
Right.
And I was definitely like following that path. I was like going through the motions, you know, I was like doing all the things that I felt was like expected of me, or that you do to like have a successful life.
Yeah.
But I always knew, like deep down inside, I was like, this is like not for me.
This is bullshit.
Yeah,
Josephine, totally. This is bullshit.
Yes, that's totally what the inner voice was saying.
Fucking go be a DJ. Fuck this whole corporate shit. Yeah, no.
Yeah, like I mean the DJ part, no, I didn't know that was the thing, but like I definitely like always felt like, you know, and everybody has these feelings, but like, is there something else out there for me? Is there something more out there for me? Could I be doing like something more or different? But then you also want to like balance that with, you know, being happy with what you have and being grateful for what you have. And like, I think that the whole like gratitude narrative, like that's become really popular with things like social media. It's, of course we should be grateful, but you need to like also be aware that it's okay to like want more from yourself and from your life.
Totally. That's a huge counterculture that's come up recently. Like,
yeah.
Especially with the whole, I mean, we have a large capitalistic, you know, nature of just being the best, the cream of the crop, constantly competition, outwork. And then recently there's actually just a little bit of pushback being like, oh, maybe it's wrong that these millennials are working 80 hours a week or whatever it may be. And that's like a valid point too. I tend to go the other way, but I do see where that, and it's very important to be grateful and experience the moment. Because if you're not aware, if you're not here, if you're not mentally here, like there's no point in living. So what's the point? But just to double back there, what made you, because everyone has this kind of like pivotal moment of taking, let's say a 9 to 5. I don't really like using those linguistics, but taking an extremely stable and somewhat marginalizing position in order to feel safe and secure. I've gone through it. Tons of other people have gone through it. And there's just a moment where like you're young and the world feels really scary. Like, look at all these people, they're doing all this stuff. My parents think this, my friends think this, and I have done X, Y, and Z to get to this spot. I should be doing this now. This is the natural progression. And it's kind of like your soul is suppressed in a weird way. But take me back to when you actually maybe had that job offer, or maybe were about to make that crucial decision, or whatever it may be. And what was your mind frame then? And then what would you tell yourself at that point now, looking back on it 10, 15 years later?
I think like what would I tell myself? You mean what would I tell myself when I was like getting ready to leave that old life, or when I was like
when you were starting? Actually,
okay.
Not even what you tell yourself. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
But more, what were you thinking at that moment from your recollection?
Yeah. So around that time, I was always really kind of confused about like what I wanted out of life.
Really?
And yeah.
Tell me more.
I was always confused about that. And I think like but I'm someone who like works things out by like trying, like trial and error.
Right.
I'll always like try a new thing. I was always like jumping around from like job to job to try to like figure that out. And so I think that's good. You know, I was never like the person who would just sit there in my cubicle and like wonder if there was something else out there for me and then not like try anything.
Yeah.
But I think I would just tell myself to like just be more fearless and not to like overthink things. Cause like I always kind of had this like entrepreneurial kind of like nature. Like, you know, I thought maybe I could like, I was always a motivated person, and I knew that was like a big part of like being your own boss per se. But
which was not popular at the time.
No,
Yeah.
not at all. But I definitely would always like overthink things. And I'm like a problem solver by nature. Like I like to like analyze situations and be like, you know, these are like this is what could go wrong. This is what could go good.
This is where we're at. This is how we get out of it.
Yeah. And I think those are strong qualities to have, but you can also talk yourself out of things pretty quick by listing all the things that could go wrong. So when my life started to like shift in a different direction is when I really started changing that way of thinking to like more what I could gain and like what could go right. You know what I mean?
But then what made you suppress that voice in your head then? So you thought about it. You thought, okay, I do have, or thought about it. What is even it? Thought about an alternative route, let's say, or things you could do. There was something that probably just double backed in your head. You overanalyzed and that got you out of it. But like, you're the person that we see today is such like you can't envision that.
Yeah.
Like you
like
can't,
a second guessing person.
Doesn't really doesn't compute, right?
Yeah.
There's had to be, what was the narrative in your head at that time? Like you go for the interview, you come back, you get a call back, second interview, whatever it may be, and you end up going, and the contract's on the table. Like, what's going through your head there when you know that you have an alternative or a potential that's a little bit, that isn't marginalized in that way?
Yeah. I think the big one was like my, like this feeling of responsibility to like other people.
There you go.
And again, like that is another thing that being in something, a serious commitment like a marriage is like really inhibiting your decisions and things like that. Because, you know, if I wasn't in a committed relationship, I probably would have navigated things like very, very differently.
So you were in a committed relationship at the time.
Yeah. So I was like with this person since I was like basically 20 years old.
Right.
Like
so baby.
Yeah. And so you're always kind of thinking of that person, even though it's not even like a control thing. It's like my ex was like very like, you know, very supportive and always like encouraging me to do more things. But when you're in like a marriage or a relationship of any kind, like no matter what, you're always thinking of like, how does this impact that person? You know what I mean?
Right. How do my decisions affect him or her?
Even the littlest things, like even just like what time you go home, or like if that person knows you get off at 5 p.m. and then
what are you doing after?
Yeah. Like, you know, like every little thing. And I think that's one of the like big kind of turning points for me in my life was I went on a trip to Bali for like 3 weeks. I was in Asia for like 3 weeks.
When was this?
This is in 2013.
Again, before it was popular.
Yeah. I mean, it was a little popular, but it definitely wasn't. I feel like going to Asia has become like more popular in the last.
Yeah, people go there just for the photo.
For the gram, yeah. But I went there in 2013. I went for a wedding. I was in Bali for a week and I was in Hong Kong for 2 weeks. And I went by myself.
Oh.
And I think that was one of the first times in my adult life that I was like actually just making decisions for myself, even though it was for that very like temporary time. And that really like changed something in me. Like I was really seeing like, oh my God, today I like woke up and I just like literally did whatever I wanted and didn't think about, you know, if that person wanted to go for food yet, or if like, you know, what responsibilities I had. It was like a really just like 3 weeks of like just feeling like very free. And yeah, it was a pretty like transformative like time. Very it's funny because like before I went to Bali, everyone was like, oh my God, it's so like life changing. And I was like, is it?
Like,
but yeah, but I did have like a life changing experience there because yeah, like I said, my first time as an adult, just really feeling like I was just moving about life and going about my day, putting myself first.
God damn, when's the book coming, Josephine? Holy shit. I know you write like crazy.
I do, but no, I would never write a book about myself though.
No?
That's like to me
super narcissistic.
Yeah. Well, not even I don't know. I don't feel like I could do that or would want to. Maybe in another like 25 years. We'll see like what I've done.
See what happens in the next 2 decades.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah. Still, I mean, you obviously have the skills and the story to back it. There's probably a little bit of like cultural or family pressure with that too, just in terms of I'm just kind of listening to how you're speaking in terms of constantly thinking about others
Yeah.
and not necessarily yourself, worrying about the situation or the context of the people around you, not necessarily thinking, hey, what's best for me? And then just bouncing that off the kind of career choices you made. Was that a big thing for you growing up? Are you fully Chinese, or what's your heritage like completely, or what was your family upbringing? Or?
Yeah. So I'm half Chinese. My other half is like miscellaneous
Mexican?
European.
Damn it.
It's not Spanish,
Shit.
contrary to my last name. My mom's from England, so that's why I was born in England.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I had like an interesting upbringing. I mean, I grew up half my childhood like in Hong Kong, and then I moved to Calgary at like still a pretty young age and spent most of my life there. But I have a big family, so I have like 2 brothers and 2 sisters. Most of them are younger. I only have 1 older brother. But the family dynamic is very much like I'm the oldest,
Right.
even though I'm not the oldest by age.
What's the difference?
So
Like in years?
my older brother is 3 years older than me.
Okay.
And then there's me, and then my younger brother is 5 years younger than me. And then I have a sister 8 years younger, and then another sister 10 years younger.
Shit.
Yeah, so like my younger siblings are very much like they're quite a bit younger than me.
All full?
My older brother is our half sibling, so we have the same mom but different dads, and the rest of them are full. And so my life,
Yeah, sorry. I have all half brothers
Oh,
and
really?
sisters, so don't worry about it. Yeah.
the half thing is funny. Like my brother's been with us, my older brother, like his whole life, so he
Right.
definitely feels
You
like
feel,
a full
yeah,
sibling.
you would never, it just doesn't feel right to be like, that's my half brother.
Yeah, but it is strange because like, you know, he has other like half siblings that he's never met on the other side. And so it's just like, yeah, it's a weird thing. But
Family reunions are kind of like, oh,
yeah.
that's Wendy. You never met Wendy? Wendy's my fucking sister. Yeah.
Yeah, so like my growing up, it was very much like a caregiver role, like
Right.
especially with the younger siblings because they're so much younger. Yeah, so I think I do have like a little bit of that in my nature, like, you know, always like having to consider others. I think when you grow up in a big family, like you have to share everything.
Good point.
It's never about like what you want. It's about like what everyone else wants. So I definitely think that had an impact on me, like even as I was older. And I mean, still does. Like, obviously I'm not like, I think I am someone who, you know, I'm very like considerate of others. And I'm always like, maybe to a fault at sometimes too. Like, I'm always like, oh my God, what does that person want? Or is that person okay? But yeah, I think I just really had to start like being a little bit more like selfish if I was really going to live the life that I wanted.
Is that why we were just talking earlier? Does that have anything to do with you overbooking yourself?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I think I've gotten better at that in the last, I would say, year and a half.
Weren't you just telling me about last summer about when you, what was that? Sorry.
Crazy like travel like situation where I was like flying from coast to coast. Yeah. Okay, maybe not in the last year and a half. Maybe in the last like 8 to 10 months. No, I would think like 2 years ago, I was in like a very like dark place because I was just like stretched way too thin. Like, and I didn't know how to say no.
As a DJ, as a writer, as a
As
producer,
all,
as
literally
everything?
all.
As a human.
Yes. And
got
so, and I think that the fear to like say no to things is like very real for a lot of people when they first start kind of like working for themselves or maybe like trying, you know, that kind of road. And so for the first, like, I quit my 9-to-5 corporate job. It would be almost exactly 4 years ago now.
Wow.
Wait, it's 29. Yeah. Almost 4 years ago to the day.
Wait, can I get a year check, please?
Yeah.
Just kidding.
I wrote 2017 on something the other day and I was like,
Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
A 9 can turn to a 7.
it was like pretty easy to cover up. But in my head, I was like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was 2015, end of February 2015 that I quit that job. And I would say for the first like 2 years after that, I really just said yes to pretty much like everything.
Right.
Especially when I got to Toronto because it's a new city. I was trying to meet people. I was really trying to establish myself. And so I was just accepting like anything and everything. And I think it's good sometimes to do that a little bit because you certainly like get to know pretty quickly what you don't want to do.
And what you don't need to do or
Yeah.
what's a waste of your time.
Yeah. But I let that go on for like a while. And then in January of 2017, I look at that as like a real turning point for me, because I was like, I basically just had like a bit of like a breakdown. Not to be like dramatic. It wasn't like crazy breakdown or anything.
We started talking this podcast about a divorce.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. You're like, it's cool. We're in the zone. We're already here.
It was like a very much like just, I mean, I was just at the end of my rope in every way. I was physically exhausted. I was emotionally drained. I was just mentally maxed out. And the kind of like culmination of all that was like I had an anxiety attack, which I never even knew really what that was before, but I had one at a gig.
No way.
And it was like a gig that I didn't really want to be doing in the first place. And I had another gig, like a daytime thing all day that day, and then went to this one. And it was like really eye-opening, because I was just terrified of like how I felt in that moment. And the worst part is like I put myself here. Like I literally did this to myself. I put myself under so much stress that like my body and my mind just like fought back in that way.
What triggered it?
To be honest, like nothing really. I think it was just sort of like
just accumulation of time.
Yeah. And I think like I do think that if I hadn't had like the daytime gig that day, because I was really tired. I think that
happens. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I was just exhausted, and then I was in that environment, which is, clubs can be like already like a stressful environment. You know, there's like a lot going on, loud noise, like lights, all that stuff. And I think it was really just like the end of my rope. So I ended up having to leave the gig, obviously.
Yeah.
Left the gig, and I was just like so like out of my mind. Like I felt like I was literally going crazy. And I called my boyfriend. I didn't even know where I was. Also, he was like, "Where are you?" And I was like, I couldn't even tell him where I was. I was just that out of it. And luckily him and I like share location. So he was like, "I think I could see you. Like, I think I know where you are. You stay where you are."
Yeah.
And
that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Shout out to the iPhone.
Right?
Yeah.
He came to pick me up, and I was just totally out of my mind. That's the only way I can describe it. I was like convinced that there was like a conspiracy against me. I was like, the world is against me. Like everyone is like, you know, everyone is conspiring against me to make me crack. That's what it felt like.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And so I was saying all this to him, and he did like exactly what he should have done in that moment. He wasn't like, "You're being crazy. Like, don't worry. It's going to be fine tomorrow." He was just like, you know, "I know you feel that way now, and I'm acknowledging that you feel that way. You have every right to feel that way." And he was like, "But I'm just here to tell you that like everybody loves you.
Reality.
That's not real. Like, I'm here. I wouldn't be here if that was the case. You know, these are all the people who are here for you," and listed all the people that I had. And so that was like a very scary thing.
That's
and I still
crazy.
Yeah, I still look back at that, and like even now I just have goosebumps, because I'm like,
no, I can totally see your mannerisms are changing.
Yeah, because it's like, again, I just terrified myself with how I had done that to myself. And that's like the craziest part, you know, like these traumatic things happen all the time, but it's rare that you're like, you know, I've been through a divorce. I've been through all kinds of crazy shit in my life, and never once have I been pushed to like that limit. Only that time that I did it to myself. So that was like really eye-opening.
That's crazy.
Yeah. After that, I like, you know, I canceled all the things that I could for the next like week. I deleted social media from my phone, because that used to be like a big source of anxiety and insecurity for me. So I deleted that for a while, went on like a bit of a detox, and just like ate healthy food, like went to the gym, like I went to float a couple times. And
see, now that's scary. Like I wouldn't even advise that in that situation. Like
really?
Floating can be a scary place. Maybe it was for me.
Yeah, I think at the time I've done it like I don't do it often. I've done it like a handful of times, and I think at that particular time in my life, it was really good for me, because it was just like forcing me to like be quiet and like calm and like not think about the outside influences.
Okay.
Yeah. And so that week I had off was really good. And ever since then, I feel like I'm just aware of that, like that scary.
That pressure gauge almost.
Yeah. And now I try to say no to a lot more things.
Totally.
I try to have now days that are like, I have days off now. Not that much lately, but I do have days where I try to do like no work, no email. And the social media thing, I feel like I've developed a lot more of like a healthy relationship with social media. It's necessary for what we all do. And I just think that what I do now is I don't spend too much time like browsing around or like looking
on that explore page.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't like look at what other people are doing too much.
Yeah.
And having it as something that's more of a like I use it to go on and like do my posts and maybe like look around a little bit but keep it at like an arm's length, that's been really transformative for me.
So you hit a reset button. You found a way to hit a reset button, and you had the know how to essentially check these things off the list. Like, okay, am I eating right? What are my relationships like?
Yeah.
What's my mental space at? What's my emotional space at? And how do I like wipe the slate with these things and get back to it?
Yeah.
It's really interesting that your mind kind of played that trick on you, right? Because think about it, our minds are here to protect us. We do have a primal brain. We're not supposed to be stressed out. If we get to a certain level, we do crack, and that's for us. That's to slap us in the face and say, "Hey, you dumb shit! Like, relax."
Yeah.
Right. Well, our minds are not built for 2019 or the 21st century at all. It's very interesting that your mind did that. When I was a kid, I used to think the same way. But it's interesting that it was two different. I was very young. You were in your 20s. Mm-hmm. I used to think until I was maybe 14, that this was a game, that life was a game, and that I was just being plotted against, and that there was just like master puppeteers, like just being like, okay, can we break him here? Can we break him here? Like, how do we plot against him? And it's just this master conspiracy that I was like controlled by. I don't know, like I thought it was like aliens at the time, or it was like the government or something.
Yeah.
I had no idea, and I
that's
just
so
was like,
terrifying
that's like,
for a young person. I
right?
don't know how you like.
But that was the only way my mind could justify what was happening in my surroundings, and so that's the mechanism that my mind used. It's for me to kind of, it served different purposes. Like for me, it was like, okay, this is a game. Then let's play the game. I'll beat it, right? Versus, okay, now my mind's putting me in this place of anxiety and just manic attack, just to serve a different purpose and be like, hey, Josephine, like, you're a human. You remember that? You're a human. Like, like eat, sleep.
Yeah.
Like, remember these things? Like, this is what you need to function, right? You need people. You need to talk. You need to just sit down and have tea.
Yeah.
Like stuff like that is very, very important. How do you, because you have that now experience a little bit.
Yeah.
I try to take all my past experiences and faults and make them kind of into principles and make them into ways that are pitfalls that I'm aware of and now that I can avoid. And I avoid them through triggers. So I'll see them, like I will feel an emotional state or feel a state. When you start to feel that state, like, how do you deflect it? How do you get out of it? When you feel it coming? You said you're on a rip right now.
Yeah.
Like, these things are slippery slopes.
They are. And I mean, I think that the one thing about, those like weaker moments is to just know that they're there. Like, now that I've had that experience, I know that that's in me. And it's like, but I can't be like afraid of that either though, Like, I can't now be like, oh, I'm not going to do anything because I never want to have that experience. You still have to like be vulnerable and like continue on, but just, I guess, kind of like acknowledge that as a part of you, but not as like a weakness. It's like, just, yeah. Does that make sense?
Do you meditate?
I'm trying to be better with it.
So what brought you to the float?
The float, I don't know how I discovered float. I used to live right by a float place. So I think I would just like see it and be like, what is that? And then went in there one day and ended up like the guy who was working there. We had like mutual friends, but I didn't really like know what it was before I tried it. The first time I went, I actually couldn't do it.
Yeah. How long did you last?
A while. Like I think I like lasted like 35, 40 minutes.
Solid.
But then I had to I got a little bit like panicky in there.
Claustrophobic.
Yeah. And then I had to like crack it. And the guy had said, he was like, if you feel like you need to like crack it, like while you're in there, just to like, you know, bring yourself back to reality, he's like, do it. So I did do that. And then, but that time, like when all that like crazy stuff happened to me, I had like really good experiences with it. I think just because it was like it just pushed me to like really let go of like all of the outside literal noise, because you're in there and it's like nothing.
Yeah. So for explain floats for those don't know.
So for those that don't know, float is basically like a sensory deprivation tank. So it's kind of like a bathtub, big oversized bathtub. It's actually a lot bigger than I thought it was going to be. When I was first learned about it, I was like, is it like a coffin? Like, I don't know. But it's like a fairly good size like tub with like a cover and a door. And you get in and you lay in this water that is, I think it's like just the same as your body temperature. And it's not like full. It's like maybe like if you lay in it, another thing is there's like all this salt, right? It's like a lot of salt.
Makes you buoyant.
Yeah, it makes you float, literally float. So you kind of lay in it, and once you kind of get comfortable, there's sort of this moment where you can't tell where your body ends and like the water begins. And
it's pretty cool.
It's really cool. Weird. And then so you go in there and it's like completely dark, soundproof and all that. And the idea is that it's like a way to sort of like meditate. Deprive yourself of everything, all stimulation.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I haven't done it lately. I've been trying to get more into meditation though. And the person who really inspired me to actually like get serious about meditation is G-Man. He's from Vancouver. Yeah. So I saw him about a year ago.
Crazy.
We went for lunch, and he's awesome. Like, we have a great friendship, and he's someone I really admire. And he's someone who I also have always looked at and been like, how does he do everything he does?
I'm going to ask him those questions when he comes on the podcast.
Yes. He's amazing. Like, he's, an amazing businessman. And then he also has like a family, and he seems to just be able to do it all.
Yeah.
And we talked a lot about that when I was here a year ago, and he said that he credits that all to pretty much like meditation.
Wow.
And he gave me a few books to read, and I've just like, I think that when you start to kind of like add more things to your plate, but you don't want to necessarily like take anything away, you need to really figure out how to like calibrate your mind to work better for
on
you.
that level.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's
and
really
so
crazy.
A lot of people, I just was reading a meditation book recently, and, people kind of describe it as a way to do twice as much work, but with not twice as much effort.
Mental capacity.
Yeah. It's like maintaining the same mental capacity, but like being more productive and getting more done. And so when you frame it like that, it's like almost like, why wouldn't I try it?
Like, where's the pill? Where's the pill? I'll take it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of like something that I'm definitely taking more seriously these days.
Yeah, super important. Creating space in your mind, mental health, all that, like, buzzwords and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Float's good for that too. But I've done 2 floats.
Yeah.
And
how long did you last?
90 minutes, baby.
Okay. Wow, that's a long one too. So I've only never done like the 60 minute.
I went in there and I was like, I don't give a fuck. I'm staying in here. Like, I'm not even cracking it. I'm one of those type of people, and I wanted to go in, and whatever discomfort came from that, just deal with it and just like sit there. And it was a interesting experience, not a pleasurable experience for sure, but it's very cool when you start to like see or feel like you're literally floating. Right. Like I don't know if you've ever seen my mind started to go to have you ever seen Pirates of the Caribbean? I hope so.
Yeah.
Jack Sparrow, the whiteness with the peanut and shit. I don't listen, like, look it up if you don't know what I'm talking about. Like, watch the greatest top Disney movies all time. Anyways, and my mind would just go there, and I would just start to like envision just like a person standing there and start to like have these like weird kind of like visions and shit like that. And then your emotions would come in like the form of objects and people and things, and it's just like, holy fuck, get me out of here, get me out of here, get me out of here. So I never really found it to be a pleasurable experience, but every time you pop out, you know, like they usually have a nice little spot to like chill.
Yeah. Kind of decompress.
Just
and, like,
decompress.
Think about what you just did. And
you just, like, you pop out that thing and you sit there and like, I'm on Mars. Like I'm on Mars when I'm sitting there. Like I'm like tripping balls.
Right.
And it's a super crazy experience. And I'm trying to be able to get there through meditation.
Yeah.
Fucking hard, man.
Yeah, it's super hard. I mean, like it's a discipline thing, you know?
Totally.
And for me, especially, like, my mind races. It's like constantly, in a million places a minute. And so that's the big challenge for me. It's just like trying to turn that off. And it's like a lifelong thing, you know, that's why they call it like a practice, because it's like an ongoing practice.
Every day or week or whatever it may be, right?
Yeah. But I do think that, you know, my mom said something to me recently about social media in particular. It's like every time you're on there and you're like looking at, you know, all these pictures or stories, like our minds we're not supposed to interact with that many people, even if it's just like a passive interaction of like watching someone on Instagram story and seeing this. You're still like having an interaction,
right?
And we're not supposed to interact with thousands of people a day.
Good
like
point.
That's like very unnatural.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that having those times when you like literally just remove everything, whether it's meditation, whether it's just floating, whether it's having like a quiet few minutes by yourself, I think that is like so valuable.
Whenever I do it, I meditate every day. I fucking suck at it, dude.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I'm not very good at it either.
Like my goal is 7 minutes a day.
Yeah, that's like me too. I do like these 10-minute, maybe 15.
Yeah. I'm trying to get to 20 interrupted.
Yeah.
And that's really hard because when I do meditate, I just do breathing based meditation.
Yeah.
And so when I do that, I shut everything off, and then I just get these miraculous conclusions like halfway through, and I'm like, oh fuck, that was it. That was totally it. Like, why didn't I do that? Or oh shit, I should totally do this. Like I'm like you, I'm a problem solver, and I'm trying to like put pieces together and figure out, okay, well, if this is like this and this person's in this situation, this company needs to do this, like how do they all three work together in this way that is harmonized and works like holistically, and I can't figure it out. And then all of a sudden I'll be in this meditation, I'll be like, oh, and I'm like oh no, shut the fuck up.
Like the realization you've been working on for weeks. It's like, oh, you had to come now.
And so I'm just like, okay, but then do I write it down, or like no, I just keep going and try to stay there. I'm trying to get to like 20 interrupted minutes. Would be fucking, it's so hard. I've literally use Calm, that map, the app or whatever. I'm on my like 125th session.
Wow.
And dude, I still suck. I'm trying so hard at this fucking thing.
It's super hard. There's been times when I felt like I was like, you know, at least 20 minutes in.
Right.
And it's like literally like 5.
4
but
minutes.
I'm like, damn it.
4:30.
Have you ever done like a guided meditation?
I have never.
Okay, cool.
Have you?
Yeah, that might be cool for you to try.
Okay, so I just thought it was kind of creepy. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it is a little bit creepy. But I'm willing to like try anything.
Like especially like as a beautiful woman, like dude, I don't know. It's like
what's gonna happen?
No,
to me?
I don't know. Like why is this guy staring at me? I don't know.
You should try it though.
So what goes down? Like bring me through that process because I've never.
So the one like I've only done it once, but I did like a group one, so it wasn't like a one-on-one. You can do one-on-one.
That's what I was envisioning. In my head. Okay.
But it's basically just someone kind of like talking you through it, and there's a lot of different kind of things that they might say. The one that I did was like more about like she was talking about like different colors and like asking us to picture different colors that like represent different things. So I think that might help someone like you who's like mind races a lot, because it still gives you stuff to like focus on and think about. It's just like you're not thinking about like what I had for breakfast that day. You're like thinking about the task at hand.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I would do the one-on-one one though.
Really?
I think that might be like an interesting experience.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I have a friend that has known me since I was a kid who does guided meditation and listens to this podcast. And I've talked about meditation before. And she hit me up and she was like, hey, next time you're on the island, like come by, we'll do a session. And I was on the island one time. I know I didn't call you. I'm sorry, but like I can't get it in my head.
Next time I talk to you, I expect you to have tried it.
God damn it. Okay, well, I'll have to put that on my list for sure.
Yeah, I just think there's something about like, you know, I appreciate like one-on-one conversation. I appreciate one-on-one personal training. I think that there's something about that when like someone's giving you their undivided attention and you're doing the same that can like elicit good results. So that's why I think it would be like maybe a good thing to try.
One-on-one can elicit good results. Interesting. Listen, I totally fucking agree. Like, don't get me wrong. I just like how you said that. One-on-one situations can elicit great results. Anyways.
I can think of a lot of good one-on-one situations.
Yeah, personal training, coaching, guided meditation, some other things. It's called a good time. It's a great fucking time. No, I mean, the basis of that is human connection.
Yeah.
And I feel
100%.
you for sure. Human connection is beautiful and is it's almost a high, right? Like it's a different level of experience. It's like we're tapping into something. So definitely very dope. What the fuck are we talking about?
I don't know.
Yeah, you're a perfect podcaster. When's your podcast coming out? Never. Shit, add that to the list.
Yeah.
But on a serious note, for the DJs and the producers and the writers that are listening to this because they saw your name and like, oh shit, I saw her on Complex and Hype Beast and she's the shit. Like, how did that all start? Like, so one doesn't just get on Complex.
Yeah, I mean, so the writing thing, I've always been into writing since I was a kid. I used to do more like creative writing, like short stories and poetry. And then I was a pretty early adopter in terms of like blogging.
Right.
I've always kind of been into that, even at like, I want to say the first thing I had was like, there was a site called like Asian Avenue. And it was like an Asian, like, you know, very primitive kind of like social network.
Are you on Subtle Asian Traits?
No.
It's a Facebook group. You'll fucking love it.
Okay.
Brie, I don't know if you can get it. It might be a closed group. I'm not on it. My girlfriend's on it. It is hilarious.
Okay.
You'll love it. As a half, you'll love it. Sorry.
Yes. So yeah, I was a part of this thing, Asian Avenue. That was kind of like one of the first like online communities. And then there was like Blogspot and like all these different things, you know. And I was always like dabbling in that world. And then when I was in university is when kind of like social media really started like taking off. And then I kind of got into like, I've always, like I said, early adopter, always been active in all those things. But I wasn't really doing much like writing until university. I started doing stuff for like my school newspaper. And then started writing for some more like local music magazines in Calgary. And I was just writing like concert reviews and like album reviews and things like that. And at the time I was like, this is cool. I get to like go to a concert for free.
And my name's
like,
on it now.
Yeah. And then I got a job like as a student at a marketing agency. And this would have been in like 2010, 2011. So this is really when like...
What was marketing back then?
This is when like content marketing
Oh my gosh.
was first like a thing, you know? And this is when brands were really starting to use like social media.
Right.
And so, yeah, I got a job at this marketing agency doing like copywriting, like content marketing, whatever that meant at the time. And yeah, just started being able to see how you could actually like make money as a person who was like a writer.
Right.
At the time, I wasn't doing very cool writing, but
like,
I was still...
Like rather than a journalist is what you mean? Like,
yeah,
you can make money as a journalist.
Exactly.
Yeah,
but I was like, at the time also, I was like, how does someone become a journalist? They go to journalism school and then get hired at like the Vancouver Sun. Like that didn't seem very like appealing to me, you know? But I was doing these like a little bit of music writing like on the side, and then also like learning the world of like more like content marketing, what it was at the time, and blogging on behalf of like more brands.
Sure.
And then where it kind of like really took an interesting turn was someone had sent some of the pieces that I did for the local music magazine to an editor at Vice. And this is when they were just like coming to Canada, like with Noisy and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Noisy and Thump, I think at the time, were the like music publications. And he hit me up and he was like, oh yeah, I'm actually looking for a contributor in the Prairies. Would you want to like pitch some stories and like write some stories? And I was like, yeah, cool. So I like pitched him a bunch of stories, ended up getting one placed. Like it ran, I think I got paid like $75 at the time. And I was like, this is so cool. Like,
solid, by the way. Like that's like $75 off your first piece. Like that's solid. Yeah.
And that's kind of when I had that like moment of like, okay, I can do this. Like, and like the timing was kind of like right, you know, like I got this in with this guy Vice, like blah, blah, blah. So yeah, I started just like doing that. Like I wasn't writing very much. I was like writing like one piece a month for Vice.
Reviews?
It was more like features on like artists.
Local artists type thing.
Yeah.
Tight.
And so that was kind of the first big sort of like publication that I wrote for and got paid for it. And then I started writing for Complex because I was doing a lot of music stuff.
Right.
And then a friend of mine was like, hey, have you ever wanted to like write about fashion? And I was like, yeah. And that's when like streetwear and stuff was like really like popping off in the blog world.
Still popping off, no?
Still popping off.
I don't know.
mean,
I'm not there, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was really in like the heyday of like the fashion blog, you know?
What year?
This would have been like 2013. 2014.
What was popular in 2013? Like what fashion wise? Like bring me back. Why am I just nothing is coming to mind.
I want to say like,
is that still like Kanye pink polo?
no, that's like
Bro, you see how
that
off I am? When was that?
That was like 2005.
Bro, that 2005 was the throwback jerseys.
2013, I want to say, I don't know what was popular. We should look it up.
Yeah,
Let's look something up.
I'm sure she's on
like
it.
Streetwear in 2013. What did I say? 13.
Okay, so in my mind, I'm thinking like, so where I'm talking urban.
Yeah.
You had the double XL jerseys, the NBA jerseys.
Supreme was definitely popping in 2013.
No fucking way, really?
Yeah.
Supreme was popping in 2013.
I think that was like, I mean, it's been popping, but they've been around since 1994.
Yeah, I know, but that it was out as like same with Champions, been around since the 70s.
Yeah, I think that I mean, it's still kind of like, this doesn't even look that long ago.
This looks like yesterday.
Yeah.
Like I'm still lagging on this.
Yeah.
Graphic tees.
Oh my God, Rihanna looks good in any year.
And so you had Rihanna, and then you had a 13-year-old girl from down a block. Graphic tees.
Bape.
Okay.
Still kind of cool.
Whatever.
Okay, this picture right here, is that Nigo or who is that? I don't know who that is.
This one right here?
I don't think that's Nigo. Kind of looks like him. But I think this whole look is like very of that era.
Okay.
Like 2013, 14. Like the like kind of like minimal like logo tee. Like maybe some like weird glasses. But anyway, so
weird hat.
Yeah, that's when also fashion blogs though were like super poppin'. Like this is like kind of in the era when like Complex and like Hypebeast and all those things
really
were like really ramping up.
Yeah.
And also right before they had gone heavy on the like ad side of things, it was still kind of like there was this like purity of like actually just sharing.
It was underground in a way.
Yeah. So yeah, I started writing for Complex then. And at that time there was no like Complex in Canada. Yeah. It was just like there was an office in New York that I was still living in Calgary, like working remotely for them. And I was working my like full-time job and also like writing for Complex, and it was like crazy. I would like wake up at 6 a.m. because they were on like East Coast time and I was on Mountain, so I'd wake up at 6 a.m. and I would do like 2 hours of like writing before I went to work. Then I would like go to work. I would like write on my lunch hour, and like sometimes I was writing like 4 or 5 like news posts a day.
What?
And then like still working my full-time job.
Shit.
And
as an intern.
Yeah, like pretty much. I mean, I
Damn,
was just
they
like a
got you.
contributor. Yeah, they got me like hardcore.
That's cool. I was got to. We put in the hard yards.
Yeah.
All right? Yeah.
And so I did that, and then that was really good experience though, because I got to see like how
It worked.
Yeah, like how these like huge sites at the time, which were like Complex would sometimes post like 100 pieces of content a day.
That's fucking
which
crazy.
Is fucked.
Yeah.
But I didn't have a good experience doing it. Like I just felt like I didn't get along with like one of the editors, just putting it out there. She made my life a living hell.
Yeah. Probably why that person was an editor.
Yeah. And so I was telling my friend about it one day, who happened to work for Hypebeast, this friend of mine. He's from Edmonton.
Got some good friends.
Yeah. And I was like saying, oh my God, I've been like writing for Complex. It's like the fucking worst. And he was just like, you know, if you ever like want to work with us, like at Hypebeast, he was like, you can just ask me. And I was like, no, I wasn't like complaining as like a roundabout way. Yeah. But then I was like, you know what though? Why don't I work with you guys?
That's so
funny. Makes way more sense. So I started writing for Hypebeast as like basically like a staff writer.
That's so sweet.
Like, yeah, in the beginning of 2015. So this is around the time that I was quitting my 9
to 5.
9 to 5.
Yeah.
And I started working for Hypebeast on like a part-time salary at the time, which wasn't very much, but it was something.
Who cares?
Yeah. And I think that really empowered me to like leave my job.
Oh, there's money over here.
Yeah. And like, you know, by this time I had built up like a pretty decent like writing portfolio. I had like a couple of big brands there. And that was really like a key kind of time. When I got that part-time gig at Hypebeast, I was like, okay, I'm good now. I can like go and like try to really make a run for this.
Yeah, just go.
Yeah. And so that's kind of how that happened. I mean, it was all
Crazy.
just like, there was no... People ask me all the time, like, how do I start writing for publications? I mean, the online publication world is like not what it used to be. It's like I said, it's a lot more like ad
driven.
Yeah. Ad driven now. But yeah, it's always just been about like relationships for me.
Yeah.
Everybody
constantly.
who gave me those opportunities were people I just knew.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how that happened. I still do like work with those people.
Well, yeah, your name is still up there. Like you're still.
Yeah.
I saw a post from you not that long ago.
Yeah. So I'd left Complex obviously, and I was like working with Hypebeast, and then when I moved to Toronto, that was when Complex had just opened like a Canadian, like a satellite office.
Right.
Yeah, and so
In
I
Toronto.
actually and so I actually applied, like before I moved to Toronto, I had applied for an editor role within the Complex like Canadian office.
Ooh.
They ended up hiring a guy who was like from Toronto. They just hired local, but the guy who was hiring, he was like, if you come to Toronto, make sure you hit me up. Yeah. And then I never did. I got there, didn't hit him up. I don't know why. I was just like focusing on other things and it never crossed my mind. But then about a year almost after I'd lived in Toronto, someone like that we both knew had mentioned to me like, oh yeah, I know like, you know, Chris from Complex, he like, your name came up in conversation and he like wants you to hit him up. And I was like, okay, cool. So I hit him up, we went for coffee, and I went to meet him at his office, and the first thing he did was he like pulled up my resume that he had from when I had applied for this job like a year and a half before. And he was like, I literally always held on to this because he's like, I thought you were cool. And like, I was like, when I said hit me up, like I meant
hit
to,
me up.
Yeah.
Not just like, sorry you didn't get it. Hit me up sometime. Call me. Never.
And so I was like, wow, that's so dope. Like that was really cool. And so he was like, yeah, there's like an opportunity to like work with us if you want. Like we need Canadian content. And at the time my DJ stuff was like really picking up, and I was like, should I do this? Like, do I want to even like put effort into like doing like editorial work anymore? But I still like care about it. I still like storytelling. I still like, you know, giving people their first kind of like complex look, like all of that still
cool thing.
Yeah, all that still like means something to me. So I do that now. And I just work on my mandate is just like Canadian content to keep Canadian
Shout out to Chris from Complex.
Chris from Complex is like one of the realest ones.
You got like 10 people writing that down.
Yeah.
Google Chris from Complex.
Oh my God. Don't email him. He's going to kill me. No,
Scratch
he's a
it.
super great guy. And he's one of those like really like real people. And I'm just like super grateful for him. So
hell yeah. That's super amazing. So
Yeah.
I'm so curious. I love how, I'm very curious on how these publications, Complex, Hypebeast, and just like how they've kind of overtaken the main content platforms. Like Complex is ABC now. Mm-hmm. Complex is NBC.
yeah.
Like, what's the last television news show you watched? Like, fucking me, it was probably Hot Ones. What's
Yeah.
the one I watched before that? Sneaker Shopping.
Yeah.
Like, legitimately, right? Like, I'm sorry. Like, that's just real life. From your knowledge, obviously you've been within the and I've spent some time on the digital agency side, but from your knowledge, I want to know, like, what's the origin story of that, and what was their, I mean, the story is cool, but I want to kind of know, and I don't know if you can share this or what your perspective is on it, but what was their plan of attack and what was their thinking as they built that company up to essentially like a media behemoth now, whether the big guys want to admit it or not.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, Complex in particular has just always been really good at knowing their audience.
So when did Complex start?
I want to say that it started like, I don't even know, like in the early 90s.
What?
As like a magazine.
Damn,
Maybe
son.
mid 90s. Can we fact check that?
Yeah, please. I was thinking like 2004 or 2007.
So it was like a print magazine for like a long time.
Damn.
Might be like the mid to late 90s. That's going to be my guess.
So Complex was like a double XL.
Yeah.
Or like a source.
Yes, exactly. And so
Damn.
it then, you know, became like this online thing. And like, even when I was first working there, it was like, so the ad, like the like clicks and views model for like publications is just not. So, okay, it's 2002.
What the fuck is that? Bree, we might get demonetized from that little naked lady in the corner. Just kidding.
It's Demi Lovato.
Wow.
So yeah, it's Mark Echo of like Echo Unlimited who like started it. Yeah.
Wow.
So
very cool. Report the latest in hip hop, fashion, and pop culture without regard to race. Interesting. Maybe that was just put in there recently.
So it used to be like very like it was a men's magazine.
Okay, so in April 2007, Complex soft launched a media network with 4 websites.
Right.
Nah Right, Nice Kicks, Slam Hype,
Slam Hype was like their sports kind
and
of like.
Mo Jackson. Do you know about this?
I know about that. Yeah, I don't know about who's Mo Jackson is. Who are you, Mo? But yeah, they've always been good about knowing their audience. And like even when I was first writing for them in 2013 or whatever it was just like they had it dialed. Like they knew exactly like what kind of stuff to post to get the traffic and get people on the site.
Very cool.
And they had crazy data. I mean, that's the craziest part about like the digital world that we're living is like you could track everything.
Yeah.
You know, so like they had all kinds of insights about like who is reading their stuff, who is engaging on their socials. So everything that you see now is like informed from all those insights that they've been collecting.
Fine-tuned,
yes,
and pigeonholed.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Okay. So started way back then. You started with them in what year?
2013, I think it was.
Okay. So from coming from a magazine into, I guess, around that same time they did the soft launch, or a little bit, that's 5 years after, but they probably had weeded out some of the things that didn't work and were probably, what direction were they moving in 2013?
So in 2013, it was becoming a lot more about the like sensationalized like news
the bullshit
climate. Yeah. Like, and that's really, I think between 2013 and 2015 is when the like era of like the clickbait.
So they sold out. That's what you're saying.
Yeah,
I'm
I mean
saying
that's
it.
not.
You're not saying it.
But not just Complex though. Like everybody started doing it. Like even when I was working for Hypebeast, like Hypebeast never used to post stuff about celebrities. It was always like about sneakers and like clothing,
underground music,
like dope stuff. But now like you go on there and it's like stories about like the Kardashians, Ariana Grande, like even the Fader, like one of my favorite music sites ever, is now like you go on there and see news about like Ariana Grande.
You sound like a disappointed parent.
And I mean, I am a little bit, but I also understand like why that happened. It's because that like the model that used to be like the ad generating model, like based on clicks and views and page views and all that stuff, it's just like not sustainable. You just need to continue to like put up the most like sensational like content and like also the very like pop heavy stuff, like the Ariana Grande stuff. Like there's a reason she's like one of the biggest pop stars in the world, because she has like wide appeal. So when Fader posts an article about her, they're trying to like
cast a broad net.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why now a lot of sites have moved to more the sponsored content like model, which is where they're like still creating content that's being paid for by someone else. Okay. Instead of relying on just like clicks, page views, banner ads. So, and I don't know about like sneaker shopping, if that's like a sponsored one. I haven't watched like a new one in a while.
It's still like presented by McDonald's or presented by this or presented by that. Right?
Yeah. So that's that strategy. It's like, we're going to create this dope series that like millions of people are going to watch, and then we're going to be able to sell that to advertisers. But it's still like a dope piece of content, you know?
Yeah. So it's not taking away. Like I really hate when like the NBA does like, and this is, hotels.com, this play of the night or that play. I'm like, fuck off. Like Ford drive of the night, like suck a dick, like fuck out of here. But like sneaker shopping is just like presented by KFC at the start, and then it's like presented by KFC at the end, and that's it.
And also, like, does that increase sales for KFC? Like,
that's the other thing I was gonna ask you.
Nobody knows.
No one fucking knows. It's not. It's not
knows.
tangible. It's the same thing like with a billboard. It's like, okay, are you boosting brand awareness? Maybe not. But what does that slot go for? I mean, I don't expect you to have a number.
Yeah, I don't know, but I would assume it would be a lot. If like, you know, they're getting like 10s or 20s millions of views. So it's a funny thing. I mean, I don't personally believe that KFC is selling more pieces of chicken because they've paid for their sponsorship.
You also can't track data through that. Like there's no click-through rates. You don't have conversions. Okay,
right.
Sorry.
What they are getting though is like more eyes on their brand. You can't deny that.
Yeah.
But that doesn't
convert to burger sales.
No. But some people in those boardrooms just like to see those like impressive numbers. You know what I mean?
I don't know when that's going to change. Probably in the next economic downturn, but another thing. Okay. So 2013 to 2015, Complex is kind of going, and these major publications are going towards a clickbait model.
Yeah. And I want to like definitely say that it's not just Complex. Like it was like across the board. It was like industry change was definitely changing.
So there was a change in tides in the industry.
Yeah, and a lot of people who were part of it before were starting to get out of the industry.
Right. And create other things.
Yeah. Like a lot of like, it's funny, you see a lot of people who used to work in like online media now work for like tech companies.
Very interesting.
Yeah. Like a lot of the old Complex staff went to Genius and they went to Grailed and like stuff that has more of like some like techie element.
Yeah.
Doing like original content for those companies. So yeah, it's definitely a shift. I think 2015 is like the biggest, was like a changing of tides in that industry.
Okay, so cool. Then we kind of got a little bit numb to it. I feel like the consumer base kind of started to understand, and you know, we're not dumb. Like the consumer base got savvy. Maybe throughout the 2016, 2017 period. Where are we now in 2019 when it comes to content? And I want you to speak on this both on a large scale, from like a Complex and a Pigeons and Plans and a Fader, but also from like a small to medium scale with I don't know, Hip Hop Canada or Self Hired Mustard or, you know, brands like that are kind of like have a base but aren't necessarily selling to KFC.
Right. So I think that where we're at now is like those sites still have like a place. They're not as people don't go on Complex anymore and like read it the way that they used to.
It's not a mag.
No, it's not like a, you know, it used to be a place that people would go and really like discover things. They would sit there and scroll
things
through.
Would get broken on that.
Yeah, it's not that anymore, but it's still like it's media is still important. It's still an important place to like tell your story, and that's why I'm so passionate about like I do a lot of like music related stuff, a lot of stuff with like up and coming artists, because like you said, having that like look on Complex still holds like a little bit of weight.
It holds a lot of weight.
Yeah. And
I don't mean to sound like I'm shitting on like Complex is dope. Like, don't get me wrong. Yeah. Like that holds weight. It's still, it's impactful in the culture. It hasn't slipped.
For sure. And like, even if you want to get into like the nitty gritty of it, like sites like that, you know, they rank really highly on search engines. So if you're trying to like build your brand or build like a certain like perception about yourself, it's nice to have when you type in your name and you've got like something on any one of those sites. So
point in case Josephine Cruz.
Yes. Yeah.
Insert here.
100%.
Yeah,
so I think that it's still important.
Bree, Google Josephine Cruz real quick. Just Google it. Don't curate it. Just Google it and show me what pops up. Anyways, keep going.
I Google myself often, actually.
What's the approach?
For smaller brands or for bigger?
Both. Give me bigger first.
I think that sponsored content is like actually I think we haven't even really got there or realized like the full potential of that yet.
Josephine Cruz, hype beast.
Yeah.
Jayemkayem.
My site's down. Don't
Josephine
go to that.
Cruz Complex. LinkedIn.
Honestly, I daily
Twitter.
think about deleting my LinkedIn because I'm
Keep
like,
going down.
why do I have this?
Complex, hype beast. Keep going down. Tons of professionally done photos. SoundCloud, freelance journalists, Muck Rack. Yeah, okay, I've seen enough.
Yeah.
You know, so if you go to the bottom, Brianna, go to the bottom real quick. If you go into says searches related to your name, you've made it.
What does that mean?
Okay, you've made it. It means that people go Josephine Cruz. They don't just go that. They go Josephine Cruz.
Email is the first one. Oh my God.
Josephine Cruz, ex-husband. Josephine Cruz in a bikini. Shit like that. That's how you know you've made it.
Josephine Cruz email. Please don't email me. My email's a disaster. Anyways, yeah, I think that sponsored content is still I think that is like still something that's evolving, and that we're going to see like more big media brands like going down that road, but doing it in different ways and like not corny ways.
What are the different ways?
I'm trying to think of like an example, but
or just make something up. If you were the head of marketing in that in one of those publications, and you were looking for a new creative way to bring content to the market, how would you do it?
You basically position yourself like a content agency, and you go after like big brands, and instead of just being like, oh, I'm gonna like put up a post for you guys of like your lookbook with a link and that's my piece of sponsored content, it's like actually creating like a great storytelling piece, whether it's like video, whether it's like images or anything like that. Yeah, like I think that's you're kind of seeing that, like seeing companies do that already. Like Fader has like their own agency arm. Vice had it. I don't even know what these are called, but I think that's still like a very valid way to like make money and continue to keep your business going. For smaller brands, are we talking about like media publications particularly?
Yes, let's talk about so, media publications, but that are creating the content.
Yeah, I think that if you're smaller, it's really about like not trying to like have the most, like you really want to like hone in on your audience and like what am I trying to say here?
Create a niche?
Yeah, like I think that there's still kind of like value in having maybe not the biggest audience, but a really, really engaged audience. And I think that you're seeing that now even with this whole like new wave of like micro influencers. They're not people who have the biggest audience, but they're people who have like a super engaged
high
audience.
engagement in a smaller group of people.
Yeah. And I think that for like smaller companies or brands or smaller entities who might feel like, oh my God, I'm never going to be like as big as a Complex. It's like, you actually don't have to be. You can just be.
Mic drop.
I mean, an example that I was telling someone the other day of this is there's this DJ and producer who I'm like a super fan of. His name's Mind of a Dragon.
Okay.
And he does not have that big of a following.
Okay.
He's someone who like a lot of other DJs are a fan of, but like his Instagram, he's got like 3,000 followers maybe.
Sure.
He posted a video of myself. We can pull it up if you want to. He posted a video on his Instagram of me and my partner.
Yes.
We played on this like live stream party called Just Jam
Whoa,
in the UK.
Whoa. Your partner, he's a DJ?
Yes, he's a DJ.
Oh, shit.
His name's Frieza.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Shout out Frieza.
We can pull that up too.
Yeah, we could talk about him a lot. He's an interesting person.
Cool.
But we played on this party, this like live stream thing called Just Jam. And we played like a Mind of a Dragon tune. And I guess he saw the live stream and he cut like the part out where we were playing his song and he put it on his Instagram.
Dope.
So because he is someone who is so well respected, and a lot of like, it's not even about how many people follow him, but it's about like who is following him.
Yeah. And if they interact.
Yeah. I gained like close to 100 followers off of him posting a video of me on his Instagram.
Yeah.
And he only has 3,000 followers.
Right.
So to like compare that, I've had like my content reposted by accounts with hundreds of thousands of followers.
Right. Okay.
And not seen. Okay. So his Instagram is literally just Mind.
So there's you.
That's me.
That's you. Brianna, show some love. Hit that follow button. What you going?
Mind of a Dragon. He's really dope. Yeah, that's him at the top there. So if you just like scroll down a little bit, he's been putting out a lot of music, so he's been promoting like a lot. Keep scrolling. He also makes like all these really dope visuals, which is like sick. It's coming. It's like almost coming.
I love that you know exactly where
I know. Because I was telling someone else this the other day and I used it as an example. And okay, there. The green square in the middle. So he's like, he just shouted us out playing one of his tunes.
Oh.
And so
with 770 views.
Yeah, which like isn't a lot. And he has like 3,000 followers, but like
this is just super vibey. What the fuck? This is dope.
Yeah, so Just Jam is sick. Big up Tim and Barry for having us on Just Jam.
That's dope. Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, what I'm trying to say though is that like, you know, he's an example of someone who has like not a very large big following, but like a very engaged following who sees him as like, he's a huge influencer. He's a very influential person. And it's like, oh, by us being posted on this, 100 other people are out there were like, cool, I'm going to follow that girl.
Yeah.
Whereas like, you know, you compare that with like, I've had my content posted by sites that have like hundreds of thousands or maybe even in the millions of followers. And like, you know, you might see some people like liking your photos and maybe a couple of people follow you.
Yeah.
But their audience just isn't engaged like that.
And even the people that do follow you are just kind of like, I don't want to say randos, but
like bots.
Kind of randos.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So I think that this whole like notion of like, you know, the influencer is still like really relevant, but it's a different kind of like,
it's evolving
influencer. Yeah.
So very interesting.
Yeah. I don't even know what the original question was, but I think this is just a good example of how things are changing though. You know what I mean? Like, and how we're still going to look to people, smaller brands, smaller publications to like tell us what's cool.
Right. Yeah. And lead the forefront of culture. And that's what it's been for a long time. I mean, back to like the source back in the day, right?
Yeah.
Like that's still it.
Yeah.
The question was, so you said larger publications are still looking to sponsor posts and that's going to evolve.
Yeah, it's going to evolve and they're going to become more like large scale, like content creators, like agencies.
And on the smaller scale,
Yeah.
It's these micro influencers.
Yeah, more about like micro influence, really like honing in on who your audience is and like creating like content or experiences that are very tailored to those
people,
Yeah.
and then growing out from
Yeah.
there. Yeah, rather than just trying to appeal
to everybody.
to everybody
Yeah,
at the same
there's
time.
huge value in having 10 to 50 like really loyal customers or fans than having like 1,000 sort of like part-timey fans.
You know what? Yeah, that's actually something we've learned with this podcast. We have people that hit us up every time a podcast drops, so we'll share it every time a podcast drops.
Yeah.
We gotta talk. I gotta figure out a way to like reward those people. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, you're so persistent. Like, it's clear you fucking love it.
Yeah.
And you're engaging with it constantly. You're sharing with it constantly. Like,
Yeah.
those type of people are just like, fuck yeah. And I'm like a fan of a couple artists. Do you know who Ko Guevara is?
Yes.
I fucking love Ko.
Yeah. Super dope.
Getting one, Ko. Next
He's
time
coming
you
on
out
the
of here.
podcast.
Like, I'm gonna get your number somehow. I know we've had a bunch of exchanges, and super dope artist. And it's just like, what the fuck was I saying about that? I just totally fanboyed right there. Ko's the man.
I lost my train of thought.
I totally lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I remember now. Sorry, pull the Joe button. With Ko, it's like I'm every time you put something out, like, I'm fucking sharing it.
Yeah.
Because he's the man.
Right.
And like, what he does is epic. And we have some people that feel that same way about what we do, which is just like amazing. And I just like. And I'll have those interactions, and I'll get in those DMs, and we go, thank you so much, da, 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 da. But like, I need something more to like, and like, I can toss you a shirt or something like that, but it's just like, I want to give you an experience.
I think that's a good insight though, is like giving, people a lot of different ways to interact with your brand, whether it's like a physical thing, like a hoodie, whether it's an experience, like an event, whether it's like a piece of content they can like consume however they want. That's like really important. And like, that's something that I've been like really aware of over the last, like, I would say 6 months. And that's why I'm doing like a lot of the things that I'm doing, like why we started the label, why we like started this radio thing. It's like all about just like giving people different ways to interact with you.
Fuck yeah.
And experience what you're about, and like sharing your passions in different ways.
But do you worry about spreading yourself too thin?
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
internet radio, label, DJ, writer, producer.
I think that it is like, I that's always on my mind, especially like I said, after that experience that I had where I like had pushed myself so much to that limit. But I think the difference with me now though is that I'm like energized by all these things. You're
excited by them.
Yeah, as opposed to like depleted.
Dope.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. But you want to get some more tea?
Yeah.
Let's get some more tea. My mouth is a little dry.
Yeah.
We're back. We're teed up. Gotcha.
It's really good tea.
Hell yeah.
And great cups as well.
Shout out to the glorious, iconic Van City. Talking about sponsored content. But I wanted to switch gears a little bit and go a little bit more to towards your career, obviously as a DJ, as a writer, as a producer, as all these different little things. I want to open that up with Josephine. The fuck do you do?
So I now call myself a DJ and creative consultant. That's what I've come up with after many like hours of thinking about how do I like have a catch-all, and that's kind of what
sounds like it has a higher price tag as well.
Yeah, I mean, consultant is like, it's kind of a fancy word.
Do you need a license for that?
No.
Fuck yeah,
I mean,
you don't.
I hope not.
Shit.
Yeah, basically what I do is just it's a little bit of everything. It's a little bit of marketing. It's a little bit of PR. It's a little bit of like event production, content production, music programming. And so I just have that catch-all phrase, creative consultant, that encompasses all that. But yeah, my work's very varied. Obviously the DJ stuff is like kind of its own thing. Yeah. That's kind of like more my personal brand and like building myself as like an artist. And then all my other consulting work is like usually on behalf of others. So I've done work with artists, I've done work with brands, I've done work with record labels, everything from like marketing to PR to media strategy to social media.
So go a little bit deeper into that, because that's very interesting. I think it's a lane that's emerging, because there's a wave of people now that have been in the digital space, the culture space, the urban space for like 10, 15 years now, and actually have the pedigree to call themselves consultants, yourself being one of them. How the fuck does that actually work, in the sense of like, okay, so we have an artist, we'll call our artist Glenn.
Yeah.
Glenn is an upcoming artist. Glenn has a great sound, doesn't necessarily have the bass, maybe has a small following, family and friends, plus a couple fans.
Yeah.
And they bring you in. Like, what is that process like? Because traditionally, like I work in wealth management, so there's a little bit of a corporate there, if you will. And it's like, when we hire consultants, they'll come in, they'll give a hypothesis, they'll do a full breakdown analysis where our workflow problems are, and it's very ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
And in charge, they charge us a atrocious bill for that one. So on a smaller scale, what does that look like?
It's basically the same thing. It's, let's say I get hired by Glenn. I would come in and I would meet him and whoever else is involved with his operation, figure out how they've been doing things up until this point, any like significant wins or things that they thought went really well. Any
so like, I was featured on Complex or something like that. Okay.
Totally. And then also figure out like areas that they're not doing so well in. So like, I really need to figure out how to like get on Spotify playlists, or like pump my numbers here and there, or like get more followers. And then it's about just like coming up with a plan to sustain the things that are going really well and improve on the things that maybe aren't going so well.
Shit.
And then, that's basically what it is doing artist consulting.
Wow.
And that type of like engagement would be probably for like a set period of time.
30 days, 90 days.
Yeah, it could be any of those.
Okay.
And then different fees based on that. So I was kind of doing all of that stuff like very informally for a lot of years.
As it usually happens.
Yeah. And then I would say like a couple of years ago, after, I was, like I said, I was really burnt out from like DJing a lot. When I got to Toronto, I was DJing a lot. I was DJing what I call like the circuit, which is like DJing in bars like
what's
every
that one
fucking
street?
Night. So we have King Street.
Street.
Yeah, Queen Street. And so it was around that time that I was really trying to like refocus my business. And I was like, I'm already doing this sort of like unofficial consulting, and I just decided to like make it a little bit more official.
As like the homie, like, oh no, Josephine knows, bring her in, ask her this, that, and the other.
Yeah. And I think that was a big lesson too, in just kind of like knowing your worth and knowing that what you're giving is like a very valuable opinion, and that people should pay for that time.
Sure, but then your client base doesn't necessarily have. I mean, I have no idea what your rates are. I'm not going to ask you, but it's just like artist Glenn doesn't necessarily have $5,000 or $10,000 to throw you for that.
Right.
So, are you super negotiable? What's that conversation like? Like, they very likely can't pay you what your worth is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really flexible. Like, I'm always more willing to take on a project that I believe in for less. I've definitely done like a lot of pro bono work.
Of course. Well, I mean, that's what it takes.
Yeah. But I think that there's like other ways that you can be like compensated that maybe isn't like money.
Oh?
Yeah.
As in equity?
Yeah. I mean, like, for instance, I recently did like an event for a charity.
Okay.
And they were like, oh yeah, we have like a small budget, but it's not going to be like your full rate.
So we can pay you a little bit. We can't really pay you what you're worth.
Yeah. And so they're like, what do you want to do? And so in those situations, I would usually ask for kind of some different things. Like, can you feature me on your Instagram account? Can you, give me tickets to your like next thing
event
for free.
Or,
or like anything like that. If it's for like a brand, I've done some events for brands that are like, oh, we they don't want to pay you your full rate, and it's like, well, can you give me like product then to like make up for it, or like something like that.
Intangible is not necessarily a dollar value.
Yeah.
Very
and
cool.
I think like when you're building your own brand too, things like a shout out on social media or a post on Instagram are actually like very valuable in like getting your kind of like name out there to
especially
different
if it's the
audiences.
right person, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like that example we just gave. So that's kind of like how I navigate that. But when it comes to working with artists, like obviously artists are up and coming ones like rarely have like big budgets.
Yeah.
But so it's just about, another thing too is some people might come at you and be like, I want all of these things and I want to pay like this much.
Yeah.
But then it's about like just kind of meeting in the middle.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Which is a hard conversation to have. Like people don't like talking about money.
Yeah. Oh man, it's like it's super hard, and I do think it, for me, over time it has gotten easier, and I hope that it continues to get easier. But also now that I'm like doing more and the dollars are bigger, it's always like a challenge. But
and the clientele is a little bit more accustomed to it, right?
yeah,
Totally.
yeah. But I think you just have to have that confidence, and I spend a lot of my free time like researching, you know, different like how to price, like who's pricing what, asking my friends who are in the industry like what they're doing. And I think we just, you know, we need to support each other in that way. Like that's why I love having a lot of other friends who are self-employed, because I can ask them really openly about like how they do certain things. Because it can be hard, like when you're just out there on your own trying to navigate,
throw numbers out there and shit like that.
Yeah, exactly. And but the crazy thing is, the big secret is that it always is just a number thrown out there.
Yeah.
Like sometimes people ask me what my rate for something would be, and I'm just like, about this? Like it's always kind of a guess, you know?
Totally.
So,
it's hard. No, it's really hard, and knowing your worth, and then, but I mean, as you go and you get better, your skills get better, your price tag goes up, and the clientele that you're working with goes up as well, right?
Yeah.
Which is all really cool. So you're doing, you know, creative consulting from like, let's just call it urban digital, if you will, right? Like, and you're DJing.
Yeah.
What do you want to be doing? Is it exactly that, or do you want to make any pivots?
I honestly do feel like I'm doing what I want to be doing.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Damn, son.
Yeah.
Shit.
I just want to be doing the same of what I'm doing, but like
on a higher level.
Yeah. Everything just more like evolved. I just want like, not necessarily even like bigger clients, but like, yeah, bigger clients.
Hell yeah. No, that's beautiful. No, honestly, it means so much. We've had a couple. That's a question I've thrown at a couple people that I think are really on an amazing trajectory and have high ceilings. And I'll be like, okay, so you're doing this and you're doing this, and you've positioned yourself this way after these experiences, and maybe it's an hour into the conversation like we are now. And I'll be like, well, okay, so what's next, or how do you want to pivot? How do you want to move? And like, dude, I just want to be better at what I'm doing right now. I'm just not good enough at what I'm at right now. And I'm like, well, what you're doing right now is why you're sitting across the table. So you're clearly doing something really well. But just because so often in corporate culture or in fucking Western culture, if you're like, okay, well, what do you want to do? And the answer is always, oh, I want to be an artist, or I want to go fish, or I want to go hunt, or I want to go do this, or I want to go do that. And it's never like, oh no, I'm really happy with the current trajectory of my life.
Yeah.
Like that's fucking amazing.
It is amazing. It's a blessing for sure. And it took a lot to like get to this point, like as you've probably learned from this conversation. But yeah, I think that, again, it's okay to want more. And like, I'm more comfortable with the notion of like wanting more out of my life. And more doesn't necessarily just mean like money, although that is like
part of the equation.
Part of it too. Yep. Yeah. But I do think that like, you know, even some of the projects that I'm working on now, like the record label and the radio station, that's also about like elevating other people. And that's like a huge marker of success for me, is like, how can I like now turn my brand, my experience, my like influence. I hate that word because it's like,
I know, don't, it's
real,
trust me.
Real influence.
Yes.
Impact. Impact into like something that can like help more than just myself.
Yeah, no, totally. And I want to ask you about that. I want to ask you about both the record label, and I also want to ask you about radio. But before that, a weird question I haven't thrown out yet is like, as a freelance creative, fair?
Yeah.
Fair, yeah. How the fuck do you budget?
So it's really hard. Like, I think that is something that's like a work in progress.
Like, how do your income is so probably like up and down.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't understand.
So it is very up and down.
Yeah.
It's like literally like
huge payday, nothing.
Yeah. My bank account always has, like, I saw someone tweet something like this the other day, but they were like, my bank account literally has either $1.25 or $15,000 in it. It's like never like somewhere in the middle.
You need some help.
Yeah. But that's like the nature of it. And it's a lot of waiting to get paid. Like I've had invoices go to like 180 days.
Oh
before.
my God. Pet peeve.
Yeah. And then by the time you get that money, it's like you never really had it because you're just like paying back.
Actually, what the fuck? If inflation is taking its course on my fucking invoice, it's taking too long.
Yeah. Facts.
Sorry.
No, I totally hear you. So budgeting is a hard one. What I do now is like I pretty much just like put a lot of things on like a credit card.
Yeah.
And then I'll like pay that off like every month or maybe a little bit more than a month depending when like checks come in.
Fair enough. Okay.
But that's kind of the best way for me just because now I'm to the point where like I know the money is like coming. It just might not come like right when I need it.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. But I've worked I've gotten my career to a point where I can say that like, even though I don't technically have like a salary, I just sort of know the money will be coming at some point.
Yeah.
Because I can look at like now 4 years and be like, it's pretty uniform, like how things have like gone up, you know, year over year, I've like made more money than the last. And now over the last, I would say like 6 to 8 months, it's like been pretty consistent.
So then you're right. Okay. So I like it. You kind of dodged that, but I like it. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Budgeting's super hard though. And I think that it's hard even if you have like a salary job because
it's hard no matter who you are.
Yeah. I just try to be like, don't spend your money before you really have it. Like if I have like an invoice that I know is going to be paid, then that's one thing. But if I haven't done any work and I'm like, oh yeah, I want like a new shirt, then no, that's not it.
Sorry, dude. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
No, totally feel you. It's especially as an entrepreneur and with those weird invoice payment schedules, and you can't even really depend on these artists or these companies or these agencies to even really pay on time. And some of them are just ridiculous payment schedules too. Like a lot of them, a lot of digital and a lot of big corporate guys do like net 90.
Yeah, which is like insane.
A pain in the ass. Holy.
I just don't know how that's even a thing. Like how you can, as the person paying, you shouldn't be able to set the payment terms. Like the person getting paid should set them. Or
it should be a conversation. Like, or it's just like, no, we pay net 90.
Yeah, exactly. I've had lots of people say that and I'm just like, oh, well, what if my terms are like net 30? Like what then?
Which is not like, that's completely reasonable.
Yeah.
Or like, oh, it's net 90. Like, why isn't it net fucking 365? Like, Jesus Christ.
Right.
You know, I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyways, I really want to ask you about what you're doing with internet radio, digital, and just the underground radio scene and what you're trying to cultivate there. Because I'm trying to put it in my mind as I'm putting these pieces of the puzzle together of who I think you are and where you're trying to go and all this shit. I'm like, what strategic purpose does that play? Or is it solely just giving back? I don't know.
I mean, it's a bit of both. Like, I think that I have been doing radio now for like about 3 years. I'm on a bunch of different stations. And for me, I feel like that's like one of the most helpful and transformative like experiences for me. It's helped me grow skills in like planning radio shows, learning different gear, staying on top of music, all of these like really important things that I feel like were super valuable for me.
Right.
And we did not have like an independent online radio station in Toronto. So
what are your big stations out there? Sorry for being ignorant. The big stations? Yeah.
We have like the bigger ones are like Flow 93.5. That's like the big like famous kind of like hip hop station. Okay. There's one called like Vibe 1055. We have like a pretty good college radio, U of T. It's CIUT 89.5. But yeah, nothing really like indie.
So like, for instance, artists like Roy Woods or guys like that are like signed and like on a major label, but are not necessarily mainstream. Do they get play, or is there a spot where they get play in Toronto?
They would get play on like Flow 93.5.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that one's pretty good. They do like, I think they have like a mandate that they play like 20% local content or something like that, which is pretty cool. But yeah, like I just really wanted to start the radio station, just something that was like for our community, by our community, like so much of the creative economy in Toronto is like really reliant on like brand sponsorship and like corporate sponsorship and grants. And yeah, I just really wanted to create something that was like really grassroots and a place that could be, all those things that I just listed that I said that I got from doing radio myself. I wanted to like give that back to other people.
So when you say like corporate interference in a way is like Nike coming in or Red Bull coming in and running an event here or doing this, that, or the
and
other.
I mean like I have many like brand partners, and I don't want to ever make it sound like I'm like not like I don't appreciate what they do.
Totally.
Like I think that brands like Nike and like Red Bull and all of those, like that's some of the only ways for creatives to like really make like a decent paycheck is when they do like work with brands like that. So that's all like amazing. But I do think that, there's something to be said about like growing a platform that is like not about any of that.
Right.
And not only not about like making money, it also like doesn't exist on like any of the big social platforms. It's like we've built our own website where you like consume this content through. And I just kind of like that. I don't know. It's like so much of our world is like the feed and like the algorithm. And yeah, what we do is not about that at all. It's like you go on the website and you press play and you listen to like someone else kind of like curate an experience for you, an audio experience.
Okay. With that in mind, I love it. Like I love it. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm totally, I don't want to peg myself as a counterculture guy. That's not right. But I like things that just do things different ways.
Yeah.
I think that's dope. And especially the lane that are occupying or are trying to continue to occupy and grow. From a social media standpoint, then, do you rock with any of these like alternative social media sites or anything like that? Like, I don't know, like even up and coming ones, or like, I mean, all the creatives are super pissed right now because their engagement's going down. It used to be super underpriced attention, and now it's kind of like being a little bit fairly priced. You're still underpriced for what you're actually getting, but Instagram and Facebook, I mean, Facebook, you get, 5% organic reach, things like that, which is atrocious. And me personally, just makes me feel marginalized and pissed. Are you into any of these like alternative social networks like Vero or Minds or anything like that? Have you looked into that at all?
I've looked into it a little bit. I'm not really like into any of that myself, but I do like the like spirit of it. My only like worry is that like sometimes alternative places on the internet can be like a place where like weirdo fucking people go.
The dark
to,
web.
Like, yeah. So I mean, I don't know anything about those in particular,
Sure.
but I think that would be like my first flag on that. But social media is like, we all need to do it, but I think that it's also just important to know that like if Instagram blew up tomorrow, that you have something else that lives like outside of that.
Okay, I'm going to sidebar again real quick. I'm sorry, but like, then what do you think about email lists?
Okay, so I
and phone lists.
Email lists are great. I have a few email newsletters that I absolutely like love getting.
Okay.
So I think it's about like, the email newsletter has like a bad rap.
Right.
But I think it's just done really poorly a lot.
But I'm not
of the
even
time.
talking about that. I'm just talking about like having your consumer base by name, phone number, email.
Yeah.
Is that a thing still?
Yeah.
Yes?
For sure.
Okay, because some people, like, I personally think it's a thing.
Yeah, it's definitely a thing.
My reasoning behind that is like, if Instagram blows up tomorrow, if Snapchat blows up tomorrow, you're still going to use those credentials for logins on other spots, and we're going to be able to migrate our audience much better, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I've had a lot of pushback on that.
Yeah, no,
one.
it's definitely still a thing.
Yeah.
And like figuring out different ways to like leverage that information, you know what I mean? Like instead of just like letting it sit in a
Excel
Excel
spreadsheet,
sheet somewhere. Like, yeah, come up with like a really great, and I don't even like to call it email marketing because it just sounds so bad. But like I said, I have a few newsletters that I really love getting, and I find like I get a lot of like value out of them. So
totally.
yeah.
Okay. I digress because this is the podcast full of sidebars, and so that's the internet radio.
Yeah. So yeah, we've been doing that. Like my boyfriend and I, partner, whatever. I'm just
You've been
giving up
trying
on
to figure that out over the past 2 hours here.
I've been trying to train myself to say partner, but it just doesn't feel right yet. I think I gotta like wait until I can. Yeah, I gotta
put a ring on it.
I'm just gonna commit to my partner.
Wow, that's deep.
I mean, he is my business partner as well, so like it's
very valid.
Yeah.
But in the same point, like I have a business partner in wealth management at the same time, and you say, "Oh well, my partner's at the gym right now," and they'll look at me like,
"You're like what?
You got a dick?" Or like I'm bullshitting, but like the business partner thing is also a weird thing too.
It is weird.
So sorry, your business partner and you.
I don't even remember what I was saying.
I said internet radio, and you jumped up and you said, well, the thing is, me and my business partner are...
Yeah, so we are basically just like, we have the label and also the...
so they interact with each other. Okay.
Yeah, I feel like they're separate, but ultimately like the ethos behind them is like similar. It's all about like using our kind of collective skill sets and our experience to like elevate or amplify other artists. That's really like what it is.
Creating a platform.
Yeah.
Very beautiful. Love that word, ethos.
Yeah.
Whoa, woo, woo. That one come to you in the float tank?
Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, you were in a whole nother ethos. So that's very cool. So so plug those. Where can people, if people are interested in you and what you've created, where can people get at that?
So my label is called Bear Selection.
Mm-hmm.
It's at Bear Selection on all social media.
B-A-R-E?
B-A-R-E SELECTION.
I wouldn't have even attempted that.
Yeah, I know. I always...
There you go.
There it is. Yeah, so this is our Instagram. So the label's cool. Like it's obviously we're doing releases, but it's also just a way for us to organize everything that we've been doing under kind of like one umbrella. So it's like music releases, but it's also like events and stuff like that. So yeah, we have our next release coming out on March 11th. It might already be out by now.
And what is that?
That is a release we're doing with a producer from Toronto named K-Notes.
This might drop on March 11th. That's a Monday.
Yeah, it is a Monday.
Yeah,
all of our releases are always on Mondays. So it's out today.
As are ours. Hello. Plug.
Yeah, we just did an event with this guy from the UK called I Had a Dream.
Dope.
That went really well.
Look at you go with the triple emoji comment.
I know. That's my signature.
That's everybody's signature. What are you talking about?
The 3 emojis. The dancing lady is one of my favorite emojis, by the way. Anyways, so yeah, that's the label stuff. And then the radio stuff, our radio station is called In Search Of, ISO Radio. And you can find us, all of our social networks are like different handles. Yeah. So that's kind of annoying right now.
Yikes.
Yeah. But the website is where you can listen in, and that's isoradio.to.
Sweet. Super dope.
Yeah, and definitely check that out.
And then Half Moon?
Half Moon, yeah, that's another station that I do a monthly show on in New York, and they're amazing. I want to big up Surf. He's the guy that founded this. And
sweet.
Yeah, it's all about like underground.
I fuck with the branding on this.
Yeah. They're really like really focused on like a lot of like Black and POC artists in New York. And really like, New York is known for hip hop, and especially like in the Black community, it's all about like hip hop, but electronic music is also like Black music as well. So that's really kind of like what they're promoting.
That's super cool.
Yeah, they're a really, really cool group of people. Surf is like an awesome guy. He's like a for the culture like kind of dude who, starting a radio station is a lot of fucking work. I know because I started one.
Yeah.
And so I have like huge respect for anybody who does this. So like definitely big up Surf.
Sweet. Super dope. What's the inspiration behind the name? In Search Of? Oh my gosh. Okay. So like we got a friend of ours named Devin Little. He actually created the name. Devin Little.
Yeah, he works with People's Chat Management, who is the management company that does like Charlotte Day Wilson and Bad Bad Not Good, and he works with a lot of dope artists. And he came up with the name. He basically came up with a name for another project he was gonna do, and then didn't end up using it, and then we inherited it.
I like it.
Yeah,
I like it. It's super dope. So
there's a little like NERD reference in there, you know.
Yeah, I'm with it.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And
sorry. Oh my God. What does NERD stand for?
No one ever really dies.
Oh, that's
like the
right.
Neptunes. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's what it is.
That's
I might have
right.
just made that up.
Whatever.
That's okay, though. It sounded good.
I just blatantly said I didn't know, so whatever. Who gives a shit? That's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I just want to put my 2 cents in and say that I think you should rap.
Okay, is that going to be the next thing?
100%. I think you should rap. You got the creative flair. You be a dope rapper. You got the style and the personality.
Interesting.
I don't know if you got bars or not, but I'm just saying.
I mean, no.
Think about it.
I do like a good hip hop karaoke, but
you know what?
Yeah.
Just start doing covers.
Okay, I will.
That's the shit.
Done.
100%. I would listen to that shit all day.
Wow.
Could even be trash. You could produce your own stuff.
It probably will be trash. But the best part is about today is like it's the Wild West out there. Like there's a lot of trash that makes it. So maybe I have a chance.
Maybe you got it. Well, I think you do. I think you could definitely do. I think that you're someone that could just, pick up a fucking, I don't know, any trade. You could pick up some wires and be an electrician tomorrow. You're one of those people.
Thank you.
So I have no doubt that you'll figure that out and continue to build and continue to grow all these different avenues and these beautifully community orientated hubs as an iconic creative that's going to continue to grow. And it's just it's inspiring to see someone with 10, 15 years go at it, because there's a lot of people that just kind of pop up for here, pop up for there, and then they kind of get dragged away or whatever. Having longevity, I think, is something that's extremely underrated and should be priced highly when it comes to something like consulting. Reference that next time you're trying to trying to
justify the price tag.
Price. Like you're not paying, for instance, I don't know what your time schedule is like when you do these consulting gigs, but let's say if I go for physiotherapy and my physiotherapy costs me $120 or whatever it is, which all off the bat, I'm a really frugal guy, so I'm like, 60 minutes, $120, like what the fuck?
Yeah,
like that's crazy. But you're not paying for that 60 minutes. You're actually paying for the knowledge of the 10 years that it took to get that 60 minutes to where it was.
Totally.
Right? And that's the same thing, I think, in your line of work. And I think it's also the same thing when it comes to artists in general, right? Or this is maybe a conversation that's past, but paying 99 cents for that song or buying an album, like that's something that really means something and holds a lot of weight, which I think is very cool. Or I mean, even with Self-Hire, like this is we handcraft our stuff. It's all made here in Vancouver, so it's like, yeah, there's a high price tag on it, but like there's a reason there. Like it's 1,000%. Not just crazy markup.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like it's made in Bangladesh for $3 and we're selling it to you with a swoosh on it for $60.
Yeah.
Right. There's reason behind that. I want, part of the message I wanted to get through with this podcast is that we should continue to put a higher price tag, or at least a higher valuation on people like yourself that have put in the groundwork, learned intangible skills. How do you do radio scheduling? How do you, build a brand aesthetic on Instagram? How do you properly write a review article, right? How do you put together a DJ set? How do you promote yourself as a DJ, right? Like there's 8 things right there.
Yeah.
And that's literally the tip of the iceberg. And no one is really valuing that. That's just kind of like, oh yeah, she does a bunch of shit. And I'm sorry, but like, oh, she does a bunch of shit is not good enough.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Totally. I mean, I deal with this all the time. And like, I think just knowing, like I've said this in our conversation already, but like knowing that what you do has value and not being like afraid to like stick up for that.
Hell yeah.
And then if there's someone who doesn't want to pay for it, they're not the right customer for you, because there's going to be someone out there who does understand it and want to pay for it as well. So
fuck yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's amazing. Well, in the nature of complex, I'll say that camera or that camera. What are you promoting right now? In the nature of Sean Evans, where can we get at you? What do we need to know about? Where do we need to go? What do we need to listen to? What do we need to read?
Yeah. So, I mean, the best way to keep up with me is to, I guess, follow my Instagram or my Twitter, which is @Jayemkayem.
Oh, plug.
Coming up, I have a lot of fun shit I'm working on. This will already have happened by the time this airs,
That's
but
okay.
I'm doing 2 days of really amazing programming on our radio station for International Women's Day, which is March 8th and 9th.
Hell yeah.
All of that stuff will be up to listen to afterwards, though, so please check it out.
Still lives online.
Yeah, and then we have the label stuff. So our next release is March 11th with Keynotes, and we're really excited about that.
We'll link it in the show notes.
Okay, sweet.
Hell yeah. Well, Josephine, you're gonna kill it. And
Thank you.
You're gonna kill Fortune tonight too.
Yes, I'm excited.
So we'll let you get to that. I really do appreciate the time, and I look forward to finding a way to work together and finding a way to get out to Toronto a little bit more and experience your scene. And us in Vancouver, we can learn a lot from it. So I really appreciate your time.
Yes, I really appreciate it as well, and I just love what you guys are doing. And yeah, keep going. It's awesome. It's inspiring for me as well to connect with people like you. So.
Yeah,
thank you.
We're just trying to build a platform just like you.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all trying to do the same things, and that's why, it's really important for me to come out here and connect with all of you guys, because that's how we're all gonna further ourselves, is just building those strong friendships, that strong kind of infrastructure and ecosystem to help us all just thrive and do better. So
hell yeah, you gotta support each other. That's
Definitely.
how these things will work.
100%.
Hell yeah. Okay, well, let's get to Fortune. Thank you so much, and
Thank you.
thank you guys for listening.